I have a girlfriend, let's say she's overseas in Africa, Kenya. What would be the best way for me to bring her to Australia?
Well, there's a couple of options there. Like if you have met this person in person, like you have actually met them once, then there is something called visa subclass 300, which is prospective marriage. As the name suggests, you have a perspective of getting married with this person. So which means you can apply for this visa, and then once the visa is granted, of course, you will come to Australia, and then you have obligation to get married within 9 months with this person. That's a good way of, trial before you buy kind of a deal. So, or if you're certain about this particular relationship, and you do see yourself living with this person ongoingly, and then there is a genuine commitment for each other, then you can simply get married, and we can apply for a partner visa offshore, which is 309 and 100 visa subclass. And if this person can come to Australia on a just to visit Australia, and if they're visiting, and if you decided to get married in Australia, then we can also apply for onshore partner visa 820, 801.
Okay. And what about the student visa pathway? Because sometimes, like I've heard, and through other people, because it's so crazy when I think about it, this migration, it's an interesting topic, and I feel that's why I love this, because we can now bring this out to the world, and someone like yourself who has the experience, who has the knowledge, can help so many people, and people who are in similar positions. So let me ask you, the student visa pathway, and is it a red flag to the government or the visa when it's like a young person? So let's say I'm 27, she's let's say in young 20s. Is that navigation?
Well, the student visa has been evolving, or ever evolving visa, because government tends to put some sort of control measures depending on what country, what risk assessment country I would say, because every country and every education providers has been given a risk rating, which is an internal reporting system that operates with the Department of Home Affairs. So, and how does this rating operate is depending on how many people have misused or abused the visa and have come to this country, and basically they've applied for a student visa as a gateway to come to this country, and they're not a genuine student. They have come here and exploited the visa, and they've applied for a protection visa, or they went unlawful, things like that. So based on the behavior of the people, where they're coming from, there is some methodology that is put behind the algorithm, and then that's how the Department of Home Affairs will allocate the countries based on the risk rating. So if your risk rating is 3, that means like that's not so great in terms of visa perspective. 2 is okay, and the 1's being very good.
You have that gift, you have that talent, and that gift and talent needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. Your downfalls, your amazing moments, your business needs to reach more people. That is what we do here at the Rasha Family Podcast. So for a select few, we can have you as a guest on our show. For me as the host to ask you questions about what you do. This is a skill, creating this content, being able to film, produce it. It is a valuable skill that we have learned, and we want to utilize that to help as many people as possible. So you'd have me as your host, ask you questions, get to know you and your business, and how to build up your personal brand. We're then able to market and repurpose content from the podcast on all platforms, including your network. So if you really want to be in touch, if you want to be a guest on our show and be able to use marketing material from this valuable podcast, from your valuable story out to more people, we have that available.
So usually 1 indicates that these people coming from this particular countries are utilizing the visa for whatever the purpose they're saying on the application. They come here, they fulfill their studies, and they usually return back home. So as opposed to applying for different visa subclasses and try to push their stay for longer in Australia. So there is no general view as such. I don't think the Department of Home Affairs is discriminatory in terms of age or in terms of what they're doing, but I think it's all because Australian immigration law has a really nice foundation. It's not so, it's not, if you compare this with the American visa, which is very discretionary, which is very based on the case officer, based on the interview with the case officer. Well, Australian visa is all around legislation, all about being able to fulfill the legislation. And some legislation, some regulations are quite broad, so that the case officer can have some sort of discretion. And with the student visa, we call it a genuine temporary entrant criteria, which is what we call Direction 69, Migration Regulation 500.212. So with this particular, legislation is bound to look at the immigration history of this person, education history, the relevance, why this person wanted to come to Australia, their education history back home, or how they're going to utilize this particular qualification when they reach back home, things like that. So there is a tools for the case officer to assess all of this. So as long as this person can demonstrate that this person is a genuine student who's want to come to Australia, genuinely wanted to study and come back home, I don't see any problem with the visa application. But then because there's a lot goes around the world for people who wants to come to Australia, they do many creative works in their paper application, so that's when things gets a little bit messy.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.